Youngpreneurs Podcast, episode number 169 with your host, Victor Ahipenny. What's up, world? Another day, another podcast. And today I've got with me Niyc Pidgeon, who is a positive psychologist and success coach, as well as a best-selling author. And what's really exciting about all of this is she's combined her psychology she studied at university into the high-level business side of things and helping people get the best out of their life. So it's kind of taking it away from that clinical sense which a lot of us associate with. And we also dive into not only what she does in the positive psychology side of things, but also how she won Young Entrepreneur of the Year and her big goals and aspirations that involve speaking around the world and impacting thousands upon thousands of people. She's going out to hang out with Richard Branson, and she's been named as a supporting partner for the United Nations Women in the UK and a hell of a lot of other things. And it's really, really cool, and we go into some really personal things in this episode as well. And I think you'll all really enjoy it because of the fact that Niyc is really authentic and real, and she gives it her story, and she breaks down what has really allowed her to take on the world and to break down some of the barriers that were holding her back. So if you enjoy this episode, make sure to leave a comment at passiveincomeyoung.com, or better yet, subscribe, rate and review over at iTunes. And in the meantime, guys, keep living life on your own terms. You're listening to the Youngpreneurs Podcast, the number one resource online for under 35-year-olds. Where we chat twice a week to the most inspiring entrepreneurs in the world. We have it all. If you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or actionable tips to help you transition from that job into a business, or if you're ready to take that business to a whole new level, then this is the place to be. Get ready to live life on your own terms. Youngpreneurs, welcome to another episode of the Youngpreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Victor Ahipenny, and as always, thank you for spending some time with us. As you know, you're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and today you're spending it with me and Niyc Pidgeon, who is over in South Africa, and she is a best-selling author, positive psychologist, and success coach. Welcome to the show, Niyc.
Thank you for having me.
We love to delve in and kind of break down the barriers for everybody and just get a bit of an idea of where it all began with you before it all began. So what was growing up like? Was there entrepreneurial influences around you? Was it always destined to be on the cards, or was it something that you stumbled across?
It's interesting because it always makes sense when you look backwards, doesn't it? Now, I didn't necessarily have an entrepreneurial influence from my parents because both of them worked in jobs. Dad had kind of left school quite early, aged 16, hadn't gone on to study at a higher level, and got a job, worked his way up, and was fantastically successful. So in terms of my parents, they thought that I should do that as well. Now, what I noticed looking back is that I did have entrepreneurial influences from friends' parents and from my partner's parents at the time. So what I've always been great at is looking at what's around me and looking at how I can actually use those as opportunities. So I learned everything that I could from my boyfriend's dad, asked loads of questions, and really used the confidence that I got from him and from my friends, Steph and Jess, their mum, to really fuel my entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
I remember.
Sorry to interrupt. What did they do? Like the parents and stuff like that.
So my friend's parents, my friend's mum, she was a head of the entrepreneurship degree in Newcastle Uni where I lived.
Yep.
So she had her own business that she'd grown in the 1980s, and she'd scaled it to 2 million, closed it down because of cash flow, and then relaunched it again. So she'd actually been on Dragon's Den, and she'd had a lot of fantastic media and things. So that was really inspirational for me. My ex-boyfriend's dad, he owned, do you know the body shop that Anita Roddick owned? He was the first person to ever franchise that. So he was a major influence in my life. He was the person that introduced me to positivity, to entrepreneurship. But you never realize at the time just how valuable these mentors are.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. Like I say at the start of most episodes, you're the sum of the people that you surround yourself with. And I mean, you could have easily just been like, "Hi, how's things going?" And to your partner's parents and just kind of ticked along and not taking those influences, but there's obviously something there that was ignited and ticked off along the way.
Yeah, I remember when I met him when I was 17, and it was when I was about 23 that I decided to set up my business. And I remember going for a meeting with his dad to run things past him. And he had one of those huge, big leather desks. And he said to me, "Okay, Nick, what are your questions?" And I hadn't prepared any questions. And I thought, oh my goodness, what on earth am I going to say here? But it was a real good insight into the world of business and what you need to be prepared for when it comes to working with a coach or a mentor.
And so what did 18 to 23 look like for you?
So that would be when I actually moved to Australia when I was 18 and spent 6 months there. And that's when I found my love for psychology. So I was supposed to be a mechanical and automotive engineer and completely changed my direction because my partner was a cricket player at the time.
Yep.
And he had a sports psychology session where he came back and he said, "Nick, this sports psychology guy has done a visualization with me. And he told me when you're out on the cricket pitch into bat, don't look for the fielders around you, but look for the gaps instead." So that hit me like a ton of bricks. And I was like, oh my goodness, we need to look for the opportunities in life rather than focusing on the problems and what's wrong. So from there, I decided to study psychology with sport and went on to do my master's degree in that area as well.
Nice. And then it kind of started to obviously carry on and evolve from there, did it?
Yeah. So I found that I preferred to look at what we do right rather than what we do wrong as humans. And then when I graduated from my master's degree, that's when I set up my first business, and it all went from there.
Yeah, nice. And what was some of the, because I mean, as positive as it can all be, there's hurdles that come along the way from, particularly going from institutionalized places like universities to having to laterally think when it's starting your own business. What were some of the challenges or the things that you came across that you got valuable learnings or tested you the most when you were first starting your business?
When I came out of university, I remember thinking that I had it all figured out. And I'd obviously been used to learning from this amazing science of positive psychology, and it had really helped me, and I saw how many other people it had helped. So I wanted to help other people using that. So I decided to take the textbook and teach everybody the science. And it must have been so boring because I had these streams of income. I had personal training. I had a supplements company. I had the motivational events and speaking. But that was my real passion. But I used to stand up and just teach this theory. And I was so uncomfortable with sharing anything about myself because I thought that people would find that boring, or they would find it almost like an arrogance talking about yourself. What I didn't realize at that time was how people connect through story. So that was a huge breakthrough, and something that I had to get comfortable with getting visible with, and really starting to share who I was, what I'd learned, and the experiences that I'd had in real life that actually other people can learn from so much more.
And what part of your story made it relatable to the audience?
I think it's always the struggle. I think that you look at influencers, you look at role models, teachers, coaches, and it's very easy to think like, oh, it's all right for them. They have it all figured out, and that's not me. So when I started to share some of the struggles that I've had, so when I was younger, I got bullied really badly. I have had times in my business when I've had absolutely no money at all and people have had to buy me food. I was actually raped 5 years ago. So a lot of the work that I did was the deep work on healing the trauma. So when I integrated that real struggle side of things, and I started to share that not every day is a sunny day in the life of a positive psychologist. And just because you study the science, it doesn't mean that you're happy all of the time. People started literally engaging so much more. People started sending me emails saying, "You've helped me so much because I understand that this stuff really works in the bad times as well as the good."
That's huge. Is a lot of people don't realize it, and I'm a Tim Ferriss groupie and follow kind of a lot of what he says and writes and puts out and talks and everything. And he got interviewed once, and he was saying what people don't realize is that as you level up in whatever area of your life, the rise and fall is way bigger. Like, he's someone who's battled with, the kind of bipolar, the suicidal thoughts, was going to kill himself and all these different things. And yet people look at him and they go, well, you've sold millions of books. Money isn't an issue. You're part of all these amazing startups. You connect with the coolest people in the world. And, he said one of his biggest failures was when he tried to self-publish and the 4-Hour Chef. And he said he thought it was his most impactful book, and it sold a few million copies, but it didn't sell as many and impact as many people as he thought it would have. And it's just such a interesting thing where people don't realize that you've still got goals, you've still got aspirations. You don't get X amount of money or X amount of awesomeness in some area of your life and just rest on your laurels and you're satisfied and you don't take risks and you don't have failures and you don't have all of this. So I think that's obviously why people start relating more to that than dry textbooks about your amygdala and your hypothalamus and everything else in between. So you've got some. I read your profile when you sent it through to me, and you've done some pretty cool things and got some pretty cool awards. From when you were starting your business, and some people were buying your lunches, and there was the struggles and the trials and the tribulations. I think you won a Young Entrepreneur of the Year award, and you're going to hang, or you may have hung with Richard Branson on Necker Island, and helping with the UN, and talking about the influencer side of things. How have you been able to build your profile and become better known, have these opportunities continue to open the door? Because none of this happens accidentally. Like, you've got to be doing something good, but you can't be the best kept secret. So how have you gone about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you can't ever take away from the need for hard work. Anybody that tells you that it's going to be easy is completely wrong. Like, I think you can be very supported on your journey, and there's parts of it that can flow very easily. But I was working, and I still do work very long days in my business. But the reason that I do that is because I've got this big mission and this big purpose in the world to help people through loving what I do. So I've made sure that the work that I do is something that I enjoy. And I've made sure that the work that I do is something that allows me to be myself. So when I was teaching from the textbook all those years ago, I wasn't being myself. But when I integrated going through all of that healing work and the hard times into the business and the story and my voice of the brand, then it became a lot easier to actually communicate with my audience, to share with others what I do. And it meant that when I showed up to meetings or networking events or was introduced to someone, the easiest thing was just to be myself. And it's a real gift, but people respond to that. When you talk about your mission and you talk about what you love and what you do, and people can see that you actually really mean what you say, it's easy to make those partnerships and to align with the opportunities that you want to experience. I'm very big on visualization as well. So I believe that you can be, do, create, and have anything that you want in your life, but that's got to be backed up by the action. Mm-hmm. So visualize what it is that you want, but don't just sit there wishing and hoping for it. Actually do something and point yourself in that direction and put in the work.
It's like that book, The Secret, but then you've actually got to act, like picturing that $1 million check coming into your letterbox isn't probably going to work when no one in Australia uses checks anymore. So you've got to actually get out and do the work, which is huge. And and that's the same thing. People resonate with a mission and a purpose. So I want to ask you two questions, and the answers may be the same. But when you're talking about you've got a big vision, what is that vision? But also, what do you deem as success or being successful at this time in your life? Are they the same thing or are they different things?
That's a fantastic question, because this is something that I work with a lot and something I talk about a lot. Success for me is success on the inside as well as on the outside. So I talk about creating unstoppable success for yourself and for your business. So you need to really raise your self-awareness around what it is that success means for you in order for you to be able to understand when you've achieved it. Success for me is being able to have freedom to decide what I want to do within my life. So for me, it's being able to get up, and some of the basic things make me feel successful. Being able to get up, do my morning ritual, go to the gym when I want to go, sit down and start to work and have complete control over my calendar, to be able to fly to England or fly to America to speak or to work with clients or just to see family. Having a business that supports the flexibility within the time, but also within the finance to do that. And then in terms of vision, I work with big vision on a big scale. So one of my biggest goals and desires is to be able to run live events and speak to audiences of tens of thousands. Now, the biggest that I've done so far is about 2,000. So I just want to be able to help people on a big scale. Yep. I want to do a lot more TV. I've already done some, but I want to do more. So my visions and my visualizations every morning are focused on like me standing in a stadium or a big auditorium and what that feels like, because it's the emotion that actually connects us to the action. So think about what you want to feel like and who you need to become in order to receive that vision, in order to receive that kind of level of success. And then the two will start to get closer and closer together till your reality matches how you feel on the inside.
Yeah, because it's an interesting thing, and it's probably something I don't necessarily ask enough people, but the vision and the success, like if your vision is that big, like that it might not happen for 5 or 10 years because you're putting all the pillars into it, like are you feeling unsuccessful for the rest of it because you've hedged everything on something that may be a moonshot? If you speak in front of 8,000 people versus 10 and you never get to 10, and have you failed, or have you impacted 8,000 people, which is pretty amazing? And that's why it's a awesome answer, but really interesting thing to ponder for everyone out there. Setting it's kind of the start of the year, so everyone's setting those New Year's resolutions or confessions or whatever they want to call them, and having a look at what success would mean to you, plus what you really want to achieve. So with your business, what does your business, like what from an income generating point of view, what encapsulates your business at the moment?
So we are a business that primarily offers coaching services and online courses. So we have something for everybody at every step of the process. So for me, when I started off, it was a premium coaching model. But what I desire to do, and my goal is to serve as many people as possible. So we have the book, which is kind of $10. It's a very easy way for people to start to learn the tools and to get that book into the hands of people who need it. We've then got things that are $29. We've got $297, $1,000. We've got $10,000, and then my one-on-one coaching is $40,000. So it's a real scale all the way up to serve people where they're at their time in life and business.
And with that, and this is a question because I'm sure there's lots of coaches or future coaches listening. How do you get comfortable asking for $40,000?
So I think it's definitely putting a value on what the result is that you create, because a lot of people attach their self-worth to money. So they'll find it challenging to charge a certain price because they don't feel they're worth it. But you need to understand it's not, yes, whilst they're investing in working with you because they want your success or they want your skills or they want your level of coaching, what they're actually investing in is themselves and creating a particular result. So if you're confident in your framework, your system, your coaching style, and your ability to help your client create that result, then the investment that they make should absolutely match that. When you start to scale your business and you start to realize how little time you have left, you've also got to take into account, actually, is there some sort of tangible value that I can put on the time and the energy that it would take to invest in working with a high-level client? Some of my clients have $100 million businesses. Yep. So thinking about that and how I need to show up, I've got to be at my best for that person.
Yeah. And it's funny because people have to value what you're getting as well, what you're giving. So, I mean, I had a call with a guy who he goes around and does short trainings to corporate top 100 companies around the world. And he said when he sends in his prices, he does nothing less than $5,000 an hour, and now he's upped it to $10,000 an hour. And he said because anything less than five, and they won't even look at his proposal, they'll just laugh him out of the building, because they don't want somebody who's giving them $100 worth of value. They want someone walking in there and they're expecting a 4-hour talk and getting $20,000 to $40,000 worth of value for that. And so it's an interesting thing, somebody who's, and I guess a lot of us are brought up, and our first step into the real world once we're finished high school or whatever is getting a job that justifies and values our time by the hour, not by the result. It's relative to the result you can do, but if you're flipping burgers, or if you're working behind a bar, they go, all right, you're worth $15 an hour. There you go. And then when someone goes, well, this person charges $40,000 for 12 hours over the year for 12 one-on-one talks and a little bit more, then I'm not saying that that's what your package is or whatever, but people go, oh, well, that's X amount of thousands an hour. Well, it's not, because if you turn that company from $100 billion to a $200 million company, then somebody's going to be pretty happy and go, well, that was the best $40,000 that I ever spent. Or if it's happiness or whatever, because a lot of these things are not intangibles, but hard to put a price on. So with your time being more scarce and you wanting to work on a larger leveraged scale, so of you speaking to more people and talking, I guess it's when you look at the role model in that space, I'm sure it's Tony Robbins, and in the sense of he can only do so many events now, and they sell out, and they've got tens of thousands of people who are lining up to attend them. What does the next couple of years in your business look like to be able to get to where your visualizations are?
Yeah, so it's starting with the same model, but starting small and growing it. So we have a fantastic model at the minute with all of these different income streams. We do retreats, and we've done live events, maybe that I've personally put on up to about 200 people. Now, I want to start to grow that and do one event a year that is exactly the same in terms of the speakers that I invite, in terms of the experience that I give, but it just gets refined every year. So it's the same but better, the same but bigger. Yep. And I think knowing that I'm in this for the long haul, this is my life, this is my career, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not just going to try it once and then give up. I'm going to start something and I'm going to grow it over the long term. That's my intention. And for my community and my audience to be able to come with me and continue to get value for life as well.
Yeah, cool. And so it makes sense. It's, what is it, the book, your first 100 or 200 raving fans or whatever it is, and you get those, and then it's an exponential thing from there. Is if 100 of them tell 2 people and bring them along, then it's in 5 years time you've 10x your event. In regards to your business, I'm sure with the psychology side of things, it's your business and your life. What's your best habit or skill towards your business, but what's your worst, or what's the thing that you work on the most? Because we're talking about the honesty and the relatability. It's we've all got our things that hold us back or that slow us down. What are yours?
So definitely, I find it very easy to be motivated to my work. So I love doing it. I'm very structured. I'll get up, do my morning ritual, go to the gym, work. So that side of things I'm fantastic at. But that can also be to my detriment, because I'd say my weakness is saying yes to things too often. So as an optimist, I find it really easy to say, yeah, I'll travel there and I'll speak at that place. And then all of a sudden, my health is impacted. You find that your consistency is impacted, and consistency is the main thing that you need in a business to sustain it. So that has definitely been my intention for this year, to actually focus on saying no more and understanding the value of a no over a yes.
It's hard. We love shiny objects, and it's hard because it may be to go and speak at some event, and if does that one speaking gig line up with your overall vision of impacting more people, or is it something that your opportunity cost is even bigger? It's really hard, because I think a lot of people misinterpret Gary V out there. They see him talking about hustle and always going hard and doing this and doing that. But on the weekends, he talks about how he completely switches off. You never see his family and any of his things. When he's hustling, he's going to high-level meetings. When he's flying to an event to speak at, he's speaking at an event that's got X amount of people in it that are going to fit his demographic and potentially be customers for him. He's not going to 1,000-person event that the people are lower level entrepreneurs who aren't going to use this thing. So people misinterpret hustle. He's not sitting there learning how to develop a website. He's got a team who does that. He's hustling, and he's easily motivated like you. And I'm sure that he's picking the right things that he's going to do with it. And when you see it at the lower level, it's I think it's a different interpretation that people feel like they should be working 25 hours a day every day and and trying to do everything. And so I think that's I wish you all the best with your intentions of saying no and avoiding those shiny objects. With our last kind of couple of questions, who do you, obviously you mentor, coach, inspire a lot of people. Who do you draw your inspiration from? Who do you learn from? As in, who do you learn from for your business? And what do you, or do you not? I'm sure you do, but
yeah, I definitely do. So, I mean, a lot of my inspiration will come through my own life, which is, it might sound a bit strange, but I believe that we can learn so much from our own experience and reflections. So a lot of the writing that I'll do to my email list, for example, will be like, this happened today and I learned this. And I think that's a great way to teach because, again, it's relatable for people. In terms of business, I work with Brendan Bouchard. So he is one of the most influential people in personal development. And I've been working with him for over a year now. So he's my coach and I'm part of his high-level mastermind. And in terms of the value that he delivers for us in that experience, but to everybody that's in his audience, I haven't seen anybody like him that's showing up continually and is really giving those teachings in the area of mindset, motivation, and marketing as well.
Did you go to his event? Was it last month in the States?
I've been to HPA, so High Performance Academy, and I've been to World's Greatest Speaker Training as well.
Yep.
So the only one I haven't been to is Experts Academy, but live events are amazing. Yeah. And I actually always ask questions. I always look at like how I can learn from not just what he says, but how he does things.
Yep.
So I spoke to his team and I said, right, how did he do this thousands of people event? And they said, Nick, he just started small and then every year he grew. So it's just that strategy of doing your best at that time and understanding you're in it for the long haul.
Yeah, one of the previous guests on here, and one of my good friends, Anthony Kirby, he's just signed up for something with Brendan. He flew over to LA, I think it was, his last event, and then came back, and I think he's going over another 4 times this year to be
awesome.
To be inspired and take his business to another level. Last question. Outside of your book, which we're going to talk about, what's the book in the last, say, year and the book in your lifetime? What are the 2 that have had the most impact on you, or you've liked and enjoyed the most?
This is going to be a strange one. So I really, really love a book called Children of Morrow, and it's nothing to do with business, but the concepts in that book are universal. And they teach you about vision, and they teach you about how you can get whatever you want in your life. And it's a lot about it's like a philosophy of life. That's a fantastic book. And I've also really, really loved reading Brendan's recent book, so High Performance Habits. I think when you get to a certain level in life and business, you understand how to do everything, but it doesn't mean that you do everything to its best ability. So you can maybe be being less effective than you should be. So high performance is all about how you can actually remember the simple things that you're supposed to be doing to actually take yourself to a higher level so you can do more with the time that you've got available.
Brilliant. Well, we'll link all of that in the show notes at passiveincomeyoung.com, where you can grab that and plus some other resources and everything that we have talked about. And we've been talking with Niyc Pidgeon, who is a best-selling author, a positive psychology and success coach. And I just want to thank you and welcome you to the Youngpreneurs family. It's been an absolute ball. I'm sure people have gathered and got a lot of inspiration from your story and your journey. If they want to check out you and find out more about you, or maybe check out that awesome book of yours, where can they go and what can they do?
You can go to niycpidgeon.com. Everything's on there, all of my programs and the book as well.
Brilliant. Well, as I said, we'll link that at passiveincomeyoung.com, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to following the journey and hopefully crossing paths in the near future.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Youngpreneurs podcast. This was proudly brought to you by the Podcast Institute, the #1 training resource to take your business from chasing leads to leads chasing you, and from an absolute amateur to a full-blown authority. If you're looking to take your business to the next level, then a podcast is the obvious answer. You can get national and global exposure in a very fast time, and it's just exactly what I've done with this podcast. So if you want to find out more, get a checklist on how you can get started for under $60, and to find out more through a small training video that I've prepared for you all, then please check out passiveincomeyoung.com/podcast training.